I kind of cheated. I looked at one of the feathers or turkeys that I have in my office.
That's why he was asking for the numbers again.
Cheater.
Could you please use the word in a sentence?
Tom was a guy looking over somebody's shoulder in class. No, I know. Tom and I sat in the back of the class together, and we just kind of peeked over everybody's shoulder.
Collaborative testing, is that what that's called?
Yeah, something like that.
Nice.
This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Traditions Muzzleloaders.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast, episode number 198. I'm Tim Chelsvik.
Ted Chelsvik. I'm Matt Drury.
We got Ted Hall on.
Tom Hall. Tom.
A little behind the scenes fun with names that we had this morning.
Yeah. So, I wanted to jump in and start right out of the gate. So I'm wearing this shirt. A mossy oak shirt, says Mr. Fox on it. I
saw that shirt on SNL.
Yeah, that's right. It was on SNL. We can't say who was wearing it now because he's
persona non grata.
Yeah, you can't. It's about like having Don Jr. on the podcast.
Whoops.
Can't say that name anymore. But no. So anyways, the reason why I'm wearing it, yesterday or 2 days ago, I don't remember when, but I saw a bunch of posts. I guess it was yesterday. I started seeing the post from Mossy Oak. Mr. Fox, Toxie Hayes' dad, the founder of Mossy Oak, Toxie Hayes, his father, 90 years old. He shot a great Alabama buck,
really buck
on the last day of the Alabama season. So, anybody that follows along with Mossy Oak over the years knows the heritage and the history with Mr. Fox. And I mean, he truly is a legend, in the industry and just a lot of wisdom there around conservation and the reason why we all want to, be in this outdoor industry is hopefully for the right reasons. Yeah. And he kind of personifies that. Well, it's awesome to see him getting out there still and doing his thing and making it happen. And usually it's turkey season that everybody's falling. I forget how many consecutive years.
He hasn't missed one in a long time.
And I mean, when there weren't really any turkeys, he was killing turkeys.
Hunting pterodactyls.
So it was cool. Anyways, I wanted to wear this kind of a homage to Mr. Fox and, just pretty awesome, really. It makes me think of Mark taking grandma out for deer season, turkey season. She's 87, be 88 here in April, I think. So, she's chugging along still and getting with it.
One of the really cool things is how, when you get to know these people personally, as at one time, an outdoor industry outsider, I thought, well, maybe this is an act. Maybe they don't really love deer hunting as much as they do. They just kind of found something that worked and they went with it.
Yeah.
No, everyone that I've met that's in the outdoor industry loves to hunt.
Well, and Mr. Fox, so usually at the trade shows, which obviously we didn't have him this year, but usually he shows up to the NWTF for a day or two. They'll bring him and he's sitting there on the couch, the way they lay out there for their booth. They have a couple couches and you always see Mr. Fox kind of hanging out, and it's cool. Always, I wouldn't say it's weird because it's almost like you're meeting a dignitary or a celebrity, or
it's like a pillar of
it really is. It's like, hey, Mr. Fox, how's it going?
Matt Drury, can I hug you?
Not like the time I met Johnny Morris.
Hello, sir. It's good to be in your presence. Can I hug you?
Don't shake my hand. Get with security. So,
was that during COVID?
It was the beginning. It was May. It was the middle of May, end of May. So COVID was just getting rolling, and we happened to have a trip planned to the Big Cedar Lodge, and my wife and my kids, we were walking out of the restaurant, which was I think we did a podcast on this. It was a whole disaster of an evening at Big Cedar Lodge with the kids. Very excited to be there. They were all over the place as people are eating dinner and all this stuff. So we're walking out the doors, and I was shocked. Mr. Johnny Morris is walking in the door, and I'm like, hi, Mr. Morris, is that Drury Outdoors?
Proud of our partnership.
I stuck my hand out there to shake his hand, and he's like, ooh, move along.
Well, you did your best.
Yeah, exactly.
You're starstruck, and you did your best.
I don't get starstruck, but I did that day.
He's a good guy for that to happen with, I think. So, well, speaking of starstruck, before we get to Tom, we've got shout outs.
Okay. Shout out.
They're kind of, these are celebrity shout outs.
Hey, I know these two guys. All right, you take the first one. I'll take the second one.
So the first one is from, this guy has to have a made up name. Laden Force.
I mean, it sounds like he should be in the The Green Berets.
Comic book hero or something. Layden's a great guy. He's with North American Whitetail. He wrote regarding the Chinese knockoff product show that we did a few episodes back. He said, good podcast with Severson. You boys had me rolling at the end, but also a great topic that not many consumers are privy to.
You know, it's interesting because the second guy here on the shout outs, he called me probably a week ago out of the blue, and he said the same thing about that Chinese. He's like, man, you got that podcast. It really needs to be brought up, and we don't hear enough about it. I guess because we're in this industry, I always knew it was an issue, but I guess I didn't know that it was widely known that it was an issue.
Sure, we touched the nerve.
Anyways, the next guy on the shout out list is Jake Meyer from Mossy Oak. Speaking of Mossy Oak, so this is a Mossy Oak, and this wasn't planned, by the way. I didn't know that was the shout out. I didn't read the show list.
Wow. Fortuitous.
Shocker. So Jake says, I seriously enjoy the constant sarcasm and dry humor. You and Matt mesh well together and you complement each other well. I wonder who has the constant sarcasm and who has the dry humor.
We'll never know. Because we'll never hear back from Jake.
I guarantee you I'm going to hear from Jake because I wore this shirt on the podcast. I bet money.
No doubt. What's that shirt called? Is it just called the Mr. Fox shirt?
Mr. Fox shirt. I'm sure you can go over to the mossyoak.com website and check it out. But it's comfortable. It
looks like a nice shirt.
One of those like, hey, this is one you want to like hang out around the house. Hey,
like
guys.
Fonzie.
Hey.
I'm going to buy one, but I'll buy it a size too small.
Yeah, medium.
So let's introduce Mr. Tom Hall from Traditions. I should have mentioned this show is called The Tradition of Boom in honor of Mr. Tom.
You're kind of mixing and matching. What's up, Tom?
Yeah.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Sorry you had to sit through that intro.
No, it was interesting, and
that's a kind word.
It was interesting.
That's what you say when someone feeds you something you don't really care for.
It was interesting, guys.
That's an idea.
No, it's good to see you, Tom. We miss the fact that usually we see each other at the trade shows at SHOT Show. We were just talking about that off camera before we jumped on. And one of the things that, so you and Mark kind of have a history together as far as you guys have known each other for a long, long time. And when I think we've been partners probably 6 or 7 years, somewhere in there, probably officially partners. And I being a newbie kind of in the industry, I didn't know much about you guys. And then it was a real joy to kind of get to hear some of that history behind the relationship that you and Mark had dating back, into the early 90s, maybe?
Yeah. Early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Before I was involved with Traditions, I had a sales rep agency, and we repped Mossy Oak back in the 80s. So it was right from the beginning. Basically, they just had bottomland, just came out with tree stand, and Mark was in another rep group. And then when we bought Traditions a few years later, we hired that agency, and then Mark was selling Traditions out in Missouri and in his territory. So Mark's been aware and used Traditions. Actually, we went on a couple of hunts. We did a lot of stuff back then, and just always remain friends. See each other. At trade shows. After Mark left and started Mad and did some of those other things that he moved on to, we still see each other now and again. Always the same. And then when we're able to get together, and the last 7 years has just been fantastic. You guys just do a fantastic job for Traditions, getting our name out, exposure, using the products. And I think more importantly is your users, and you understand it, and you're always trying to make things better, whether it's you, it's Mark, it's Terry, it's Taylor, all you guys, all your whole team. But you guys are help us, and you focus in on our brand and what we're trying to do. So it's a great relationship.
And really, Mark, he's the one of all of us that he really geeks out on muzzleloading and the exact, recipes, because it is kind of it can be kind of a fine science. I want to get to a product here in a little bit that you guys kind of took a little bit of the guesswork out of things and really revolutionized, I think, the next step in muzzleloading. But, Mark, he's such a technician, and really everything he does, whether it's trail camera monitoring, whether it's, feeding his deer herd in the off season, whatever it is, model railroads. He's just a technician in every form and fashion of it. And it's really interesting to see a guy like that that's so driven. In muzzleloading, he's always teaching Dad and I a thing or two. It's like, all right, so I'm not getting quite the group that I need. What am I doing wrong here? And I guarantee you are doing something wrong.
It's you.
It is me. And he always knows the answer. And it's really helped me, because I said this actually just a couple of weeks ago. I did a set of Instagram stories where I was talking about cleaning my muzzleloaders for the off season. And 5 years ago, like that would have been a very daunting thing for me because I just didn't know anything. When I would always go to Dad's for late muzzleloader season and it was like, here's the gun,
sure,
shoot it. In the last 5-6 years, I've learned a lot in a lot of ways as far as just doing things on my own and kind of really stepping into it a little bit more. And muzzleloading is definitely one of those areas where it takes a little bit of trial and error and really having somebody to lean on that knows what they're doing. Wouldn't you say, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. And some people find it intimidating, of course, because of all the different powders, bullets, and all that. And Mark certainly, like I said, he's a user. And when he comes in at the SHOT Show and we show him some of the new products and stuff, I can see just by his face, he's already thinking. He's got questions, and he does. I mean, you've been in the meetings, and he always brings up all these different things. I mean, just immediately just starts clicking in Mark's mind. How is this going to work? How do you do this? And what about this powder? What about that bullet? Just always looking for seeing how things work. But yeah, he knows it. He gets it. And I know that he's helped you quite a bit. I think he's helped Terry and probably a lot of the guys in the group just understand muzzleloading because it does take a little bit in the beginning to understand it. And like I said, he's done it for so many years. I think he's got it now, no question.
And to think where muzzleloading is today versus, because I can recall back, I'm sure I was probably around 8-10 years old. We would, back in Bloomsdale at the 40 Acre Club, I remember vividly, I had a muzzleloader. I guess I don't know if there was a certain season that Dad had got a tag for, if it was Illinois or why we were doing this. But I remember the muzzleloader, and it was, you guys still sell these types of muzzleloaders, but the muzzleloader today is so vastly different than the muzzleloader 20.
I was curious about progress in the tech.
Yeah. So even how you load it and how many grains and like all those things, the type of powder back then for the type of black powder back then versus the type that you guys use or that you see now, it was just so different. And I remember then Dad, just kind of the frustration around it because, I kind of think we didn't know what we were doing. I said we, because it wasn't me, it was him.
Sure.
I remember a lot of time at the range and not really, I don't remember anything after that. So I don't know what we
just hear your dad dog cussing something.
I don't know what the product was. I have no idea. I just remember it was a really cool looking gun and it had it just looked like a gun out of the Civil War to me.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? As an 8 or 10-year-old or whatever.
On it.
So Tom, give us a little bit of the evolution from something 30 years ago to something today. And then let's jump into the new Nitrofire from there.
Sure. So probably you're talking about the old side lock style, we call them, where those were like the Civil War muskets. They evolved into different models, a Hawken rifle or a Kentucky rifle. And all of those were loose powder. You pour it down the barrel with a round but patched round ball, run that down the barrel, and you used a number 11 percussion cap that you would use to fire it. And then when you got done, you took it apart, put it in a pail of hot soapy water, and you scrubbed it clean to make sure that you got all the powder out of there and stuff. So yeah, those are challenges back then. And from there, it basically went into like a break action style rifle. And a break action style, it changed the industry quite a bit. A lot more people started hunting and using them in the primitive hunting seasons that are available in most states. But from there, you basically load it the same way. Excuse me, but you put a 209 primer in the breech. In the breech plug, and you would fire the gun. What makes the break action easier to use is most of them have a removable breech plug. So you could just clean it right straight through. You could look at it to make sure that it's not loaded. It just made it a lot easier and friendlier to use. And also at the same time, we went from loose powder to Pyrex pellets, which made it easier to load. You didn't have to measure it. You just dropped whatever amount you wanted down the barrel, 1 or 2, with your Savage bullets, which changed it. So all those evolution made it a lot easier from the old smoke pole or the side lock gun to the break action. And then the break action evolved for a number of years, different things, different caps, different bullets, and all of that started coming into play. The big innovation in the last few years has been pretty much the only thing that's come along is a Nitrofire rifle that we introduced last year. And that's taken a lot of the guesswork out of how to load it, how to clean it. Am I doing everything right? Do I have the right powder? From a safety aspect, from that intimidation that we talked about, I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's taken it out. It's simplified the whole operation. And if you want, I can just walk you through how all that happens.
Yeah, take us through it. Because you guys introduced it at the SHOT Show in 2020, and then with COVID and everything, we talked about it off air there. Supply chain issues, and it was just it was a lot harder for anybody that had a new product last year. It was a tough year to launch something, especially so innovative. And the one thing it did do is it did allow us to get a chance to use it in the 2020 season. And man, for me, it was a real eye opener in a lot of ways and how easy it was. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Tom on, is to make sure we kind of started to help get the word out even more, because more and more states are legalizing it. And that's a whole different factor that you can get in after you take us through kind of how it works.
Sure. So like I said, all muzzleloaders, you load the projectile, the powder and the projectile from the muzzle. This particular muzzleloader, you load the projectile only down through the barrel. It comes down and it sits on a shelf inside the barrel. And then you can see that there's no breech plug in this gun. So what you use is a fire stick. And the fire stick is available in a couple different grains, 100 and 120. And there's a new one that's coming out this year at 80 grains. So basically what this is an encapsulated powder charge. So it has a powder inside here. It's a clean burning powder. It's in a plastic case. This happens to be a 100 grain charge. So once you load your bullet, it's sitting on the shelf. You can look in there and you can see your bullets in there if you load it. Then you take this encapsulated powder charge, the fire stick, you put it in the breech. Then you take your 209 muzzleloading primer and you insert it in the hole in the back of the fire stick. As you can see here, there's a cavity that allows the 209 primer to go in. You load this, you close it up, and then it's ready to fire. When you're ready to fire, obviously cock the gun, you fire it. If you decide you don't want to fire it, what's nice is you can open it up, take this out, put it in your pocket. Your bullet's still in here. So if you're get in your vehicle, you're going, go home for the day or whatever, you go back out in the field, you're ready to go, you take this, make sure your bullet's still seated, put this in, put your primer, close it up, and you're ready to go. So it makes it quick, easy. And you didn't double charge your gun. You're using the right powder. You're using everything that's easy. Also, it protects it from the moisture. When it's raining and once you open up a jar of powder, it starts sucking up moisture. With this encapsulated powder charge, it protects it from moisture as well. So if it's raining out even now, I'm sure you've been out in the rain and your powder gets wet. And even if you try to protect your barrel, that water gets in there, just the moisture in the air, it starts sucking it up. So this stops all this. Because this is loaded in a factory setting, everyone is loaded the same. So the same amount of powder every time. It helps to give you better accuracy. It helps to make sure that it goes off every time, where if you're on the range, I've been out there enough where you start to question after a few hours, is this going to go off when I need it to? So this obviously does that. So it's called the Nitrofire rifle. We're the only ones that are producing this gun currently. And what's nice too is even if you want to unload it now, we make a device where you just stick your ramrod, you push your bullet out the end. If you do fire it, you can clean it right straight through, nice and easy. You can look in there and you can see how clean it is. So it just makes muzzleloading less intimidating. Absolutely makes it more safe, more accurate, consistent. It's just a great all-around evolution for muzzleloading. And once you go out and you shoot it, it's amazing because I can sit here and talk about it, but if I put one in your hands and you go to the range, and if you shot the side lock guns like Matt's mentioned, or the break action guns that have the breech plug, certainly was a lot easier. But when you shoot this, you really love the convenience. It's just, if you can shoot it more times at the range and dial in your gun, get the accuracy you need to do, run a patch down the barrel when you need to, clean it. and it's fun to shoot. It really is.
That's what I was about to say. When I went to sight this gun in, it did not take as long from a standpoint of like, we ran a lot more shots through it. I think we ran like 15 shots through it and just figure out exactly what setting and, on the scope and all that. But it was so much easier to clean. That's what takes so long when you're trying to sight in a gun, a traditional muzzleloader. It takes so long to clean. This seems to burn a lot cleaner. Okay. So it was just a couple patch, wet patch, a dry patch, and, a couple maybe each, and then you were done. I mean, we ran a lot of shots through it. It took, it's something that would have took maybe 3 or 4 hours, took us, an hour or two. It cut the time in half. It really did. So it was a lot more convenient from that standpoint.
And for me, I've never muzzleloaded hunt. I can't even say the words because I've never done it. I've never done it at all. In fact, I've never even shot one. So I'm learning. And part of the reason why is because I've always viewed it as kind of like cooking in a cast iron skillet. Like it's cool to have one, but then you got to season it afterwards. And there's all these steps and everything. This really makes it so much more convenient and more likely that I think folks like me maybe might actually go out and try it because you're dropping the kind of the perceived barriers there. Right.
And also Matt mentioned that it's cleaning burning. The powder that's used in here is a newer powder that Hodgdon developed. It's called 888. So they're loaded that inside here. It has a plastic cap on the end, so it holds it all in place. So it's a much cleaner burning powder. So there's less residue in the barrel when you do need to clean it. But also just the recoil and just the convenience. It's so much easier and nicer. And then they come in different colors. Here's 120 grain equivalent, and the orange is 100. And then they have a new one, which is 80 grain, which I think is yellow. So again, it's fun. It's innovative. We think just based on the number of people that we've showed it to and they've seen it, they're going to get back into muzzleloading because of this. And I think, no question, there's a bunch of people coming into the hunting sport since COVID. We've seen a lot of people come in. So we think, they're going to get back into muzzleloading because of the convenience of this and the simplicity and the safety.
So a couple things that I noticed. So I used it. It was not legal yet for the muzzleloader season in Illinois and Missouri in 2020 when I was using it. So I used it during the rifle only season in Missouri is when I was using it. Because my lease, I can't use a rifle. It's just part of the lease agreement. So I either use a slug gun or a muzzleloader. Mm-hmm. So I took that opportunity to use that gun during, when I was on the lease, or even used it over on the river a few times. But in general, that being able to put the fire stick in and take it out, like that was super duper handy because I didn't end up killing one during the rifle season. Sure. And so at the end of the rifle season, to be able to just pop that, pull it back out of there it was just a lot easier. And conversely, you look at a couple weeks ago when I cleaned out the other two muzzleloaders from muzzleloader season and from the Illinois, gun season, I was cleaning everything out. And it's like, man, I opened the Nitrofire again just to check to make sure I had everything cleaned and ready to go. And I'm like, man, I didn't have to do anything to this one. Yeah. And even when you don't fire a shot with a traditional muzzleloader, to clean it out, you got to end up breaking. If you use the like Hodgdon pellets or whatever for the powder, those crush up when you try to to clean the gun barrel. And then even if you use loose powder, all that, it's just a mess. It's just a real mess. It was super easy because I had all three in front of me. I had one that I used powder, one that used the pellets, and one that had the the fire stick in it. It's a no-brainer, the amount of ease it was for that gun versus the other two and how long it took me to clean them. So I know that every day there's more and more states that are making it legal for the 2021 season. Do you guys want to maybe update us on where you're at there? Because that has been a process for you, I think.
Yeah. So we've been we have a team here working with the folks over at Federal. And we tried to meet with some of these wildlife agencies. Due to COVID, we weren't able to do that last year. And just because of the number of people that are out turkey hunting and fishing, and all those agencies were just taxed with all the folks that are getting back into outdoor activities. But We have a lot. We're working with them. We're showing them the product just like here where folks haven't seen it before. We're educating them, showing them what it's all about. So to see updates on that, the best thing is to go to traditionsfirearms.com. We have a map on there as it changes, or if it looks like it might be changing, or whatever the conversations we're having with those folks. We post those up on our website. One of the things I can tell you is that, but right now there's a lot of, all the states are looking at the regulations this time of the year before they make changes. So I'd say within the next couple months, go to our website, keep checking it out because it could be changing weekly, monthly. And we do have a lot of states that are looking at it. So go to there and check it out and make sure it's legal in your state. But right now you can go on and see our map and you'll see that it is legal to use in the muzzleloading season.
Tom, when you're having those conversations, what are the hangups that states are having, if they're having any? Like, what are they pushing back on?
Some of them, it's just all different reasons. I think a lot of them, it's just because they haven't been able to see the product, use it, and understand it. Part of the agencies, they want to retain, the hunters. They want retention. They want all these other things that are going to keep people involved and engaged in the hunting side. But they also want stuff that's safe. So they want to see it before they make those changes. They want to know how it works. I think it's more education at this point, Tim, than anything else, which is seeing the product.
It is legal for Missouri for 2021. It was legal for Iowa already in 2020. And there was, how many states are you guys up to now? Are there over 13, aren't there?
I think there's around 15 now.
Yeah. So there's a good chance that it may be legal in your state. I know there's a couple big ones that you guys are still working on. Kansas is a big one that's still working on. Illinois, you're still working on. So like Tom said, make sure and visit, their website and check to see that it is legal in your area. But man, if you can use it and it's legal, it's a game changer. It really is. You guys were actually on the cover of Guns and Ammo. Did I see that just a month or so ago?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to get on the cover of Guns and Ammo magazine, and it was there's a nicely written article in there about how the gun, works, cleans, basically all the stuff that we talked about, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, just the response that we have on it is it's been great. You
would think that something like that even would help your case in some of the state agencies when you can say, look,
it's out there in the mainstream.
It's mainstream. You're really loving it. And, even Guns and Ammo, I would think that's a pretty, good feather in the cap, isn't it? Getting on the cover of that.
Absolutely. When we send the guns out to these riders, they have an article to write, but at the same time, they want to give their fair opinion to their readership to make sure that what they're saying is absolutely true. And excuse me, but this particular article, it points out exactly how to use it, the experience that rider had with it, and it's just been phenomenal. Phone's been ringing. They see the article or see the magazine, read the article, have questions. Same thing, just education about how it all works. One other accolade that we have this year is that NRA has picked a Nitrofire and given us the Golden Bullseye Award, which is a muzzleloader of the year. So that's a prestigious honor that we're proud to have with this firearm.
So where can people find this at? Because that's the question I'm getting most. Like when I was talking about it through the season and showing it, people are always like, "Where can I get it? Where can I get it?"
Yeah, in the season, it was tough. You mentioned COVID and just the supply chain issues. I think any industry had last year, and just meeting with different folks. We were late to get the guns in and get them shipped out. So it was available in the fall of last year. But again, even with the demand, it was hard to stay up with. But now we beefed up production. We're shipping them. They're in most stores. You mentioned Johnny Morris. They're in Bass Pro. They're in a bunch of other stores that are out there. Independent retailers, they have them. It's available anywhere, basically. They can order the guns and bring them in. So you go to our website, you go onto our dealer locator. That will show you where some of the dealers that are stocking the products that are out there, and they can see where they might be able to get them.
Perfect.
Great. We'll move on to the question of the day.
Let's do it. All right. The question of the day is brought to you by Victory Archery, the carbon arrow experts.
And that's not it.
Okay.
Sorry. There's no audio for this one. This is a text only, which means if you have a question, make sure you hit the link in the show notes and go record it for us.
All right. So Jerry Weatherman, he says, I have a question, Matt. What muzzleloader bullet was it that Mark and Terry were really loving how it shot? I believe they said it weighed 170 grains. So it's the bullet that we've been using the last 3 seasons, I'd say, is the Traditions bleed bullet. And we sat in a meeting at a SHOT Show a few years back with these guys, and Tom showed us, what they were about to come out with. And they said, we need to come up with a name for this thing. We need to brainstorm. And I believe it was Terry said, all I know, because we had used it that previous season, and Terry said, all I know is when a deer gets hit with that thing, they bleed. And I don't know if it was you or your daughter, Allison, who works with you there. I said, that's a great name. I think it might have been you. Or like, all right, the bleed
Call
bullet.
it what it does.
And it is amazing because when you muzzleloader hunt, that's one of the things you don't get great blood trails out of a traditional muzzleloader bullet. And that's one of the things over the years that it can make it tough to find your animal. It's not that they didn't die. It's just that there wasn't much of a blood trail there to follow. This totally changed it. I mean, it's like, it's devastating. It really is. So go ahead, Tom.
So it's called the Smackdown Bleed Bullet, and it is 170 grains, like was mentioned. And you guys are using it the last few years, and it's just, when you see what it does, it's tremendous. But also because it's a lighter weight bullet, you don't get as much recoil with it too, so it helps a little bit on that side. But it's just deadly. It's a great bullet.
So the combination that we noticed for that new Nitrofire was that your 120 grain fire stick with the bleed bullet was a great combination. I think was it a 209 primer? I think. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was because I actually get that asked quite a bit on Instagram. It's like, all right, what's the combination? Or even through our website, questions on this setup. And that was the combination that grouped the best for us. The 120 grain fire stick, the bleed bullet, and then the 209 primer. So I don't know if you guys found anything different, any other combos that work really well.
The any of the bullets, we've shot the 250 carnivore bullet as well, or the 250 Smackdown. It's called the carnivore. It comes in a 305 and a 250 grain. So with this, they shoot very well with the fire sticks. One of the things that also is when we're talking about these powders that are inside, like the fire stick, or if you're talking about the Pyrex pellets and stuff like that, there's different primers that are out there, and they're designed for different applications. So when you're shooting the fire stick, for example, it's recommended that you use a muzzleloading primer. It's designed for that powder that's in there. It's a hotter primer. It ignites that powder faster and helps burn it cleaner. So just a 209 primer is kind of a generic statement now. Now I think because muzzleloading is changing, we're seeing some of the stuff. It's being refined to where we're using the right primers or the right powders to make sure you get the best ignition source.
Good point.
But the combination we found, the bleed certainly works great with 100 or 120. I know you guys like that little extra boost just in case you need it, and especially when you have a lighter bullet, you might want a little more speed behind it. I know that's what Mark was thinking when he was looking at that combination too. He immediately wanted to know when the 120s are going to be available, because at that time we only had 100s, because he wanted that little extra kick. But even with the 250, 100 grains, it dials in nice, and the groupings we're getting, it's just phenomenal.
Great.
So it works well.
I will make sure to link up in the show notes the state map of where it's legal from the Traditions website, and then also the dealer locator. So if folks are interested, they can hop in there. And let's hop into the wildlife word.
All right. So
brought to you by Muddy Outdoors, home of the highest quality products for serious hunters. It's about turkey hunting.
All right.
A mature gobbler has how many long primary tail feathers? So not the little ones that kind of lay in front, but the big long ones. Is it A, 18, B, 60, C, 5, or D, 1, because the tail fan is really comprised of a single large segmented feather?
It seems tricky, Tom. Go ahead. We always let our guests go first.
18 feathers, 65, or 1.
You quit listening, didn't you?
Oh boy.
So what was it? What was the quantity again?
18.
Ted.
18. Ted, would you please read the numbers again? 18, 65, or 1?
I'd go with 18.
That's what I was going to go with, 18A. But I feel like, I don't know, you might try to trick me with D. Mm-hmm. What do you got, Timothy?
So you're going with D?
No, I'm going with A.
Okay. You're trying to straddle two answers.
I'm just saying.
You guys are both right. Congratulations.
All right. We win nothing.
18 long feathers.
I kind of cheated. I looked at one of the feathers or turkeys that I have in my office.
That's why he was asking for the numbers again.
Cheater.
Could you please use the word in a sentence?
Tom was a guy looking over somebody's shoulder in class. No, I know. Tom and I sat in the back of the class together and we just kind of peeked over everybody's shoulder.
Collaborative testing, is that what that's called?
Yeah, something like that.
Nice. Well, Tom, thanks so much for hopping on with us today. We really appreciate it.
Is there anything else you want to add before we depart here?
No, just a couple of things. I appreciate your time and having us on and stuff. But muzzleloading's changing right now, and so a lot of good things that are happening. Go to our website, check out traditionsfirearms.com. Not only do we have the side lock guns like Matt was talking about when he first started, but we have all different ones that are in between for all different applications. We have all the accessories and all that stuff too, but I think the important thing is just so you stay in touch of what's changing and whether it's a Nitrofire with a fire stick platform or whatever, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I appreciate your guys' time and your support and everything that you guys do for Traditions, Matt, and the Drury Outdoor team.
Yeah, likewise. It's a good relationship. You guys are a small family-run business. We can relate to that, and I think that's why it makes it so easy for us to partner up together because there's not a lot of red tape that gets in the way of what the limits of what we can do together. It's a good partnership, and everybody's kind of on the same page, so it makes it easy.
Great.
Yep. Well, if folks would like to hunt with Mark or Terry, or both of them this fall, they could potentially.
Yeah.
We're running this giveaway and we kind of buried the lead because we
never talk about it
very much. But yeah, if you go into DeerCast, hit the giveaway button at the very bottom in your nav bar, you can sign up for a chance to enter to win a hunt with Mark and Terry.
No strings attached. No.
Bring your atlatl and go to town.
It is a weapon of your choice. It's a hunt at Mark's Missouri place and a hunt at Terry's Missouri place, 2 days at each. And unless you kill right out of the gate at Mark's or something, we always start with Mark and with Terry.
What are you saying?
Hey, we've had success at Terry's place a couple times here too on these hunts.
Times, yes.
So
please bring your atlatl. We will film it.
Yeah. I think it'd be a great time to try the Nitrofire.
Oh yeah,
that's right. We'll put it in your hands.
Nitrofire from a saddle on Mark's farm.
That would be fantastic.
Get judged like you wouldn't believe. All right, well, everyone,
for the saddle part.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for watching, everyone.
All right, till next time. Peace out.
DeerCast is giving you the chance to hunt with Mark and Terry Drury. Head over to DeerCast.com to enter.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.